Hi, and welcome to CSUN's On Point. I'm Esteban Reynoso. CSUN is known for its outstanding deaf studies, film, and engineering programs, but the school isn't usually thought of as an athletic powerhouse. Despite great sport achievements, school spirit and game attendance remain low for a Division I school like CSUN. Last year, the Matadors had major success in the Big West. CSUN's women's basketball team earned the title of Big West champions and went on to compete in the NCAA tournament. But when popularity becomes the contest, other Los Angeles schools like UCLA and USC bring in top-notch players, a surplus of donors, and huge crowds year after year. All things CSUN is unable to do. Students say CSUN's school spirit does seem to be lower than other schools in the LA area.
I definitely think that there's a lack of school spirit on CSUN campus because I feel like we don't do a lot of stuff on campus, like involvement, so then the kids not a lot of kids know each other. And so when it comes down to go to things like soccer games or basketball games, no one goes because we don't know each other that well.
I do believe there is a lack of school spirit on CSUN's campus, just personally because not everybody really gets involved with what sports activities are going on. So I personally don't know when the volleyball season is or anything, so there's no way for me to attend the game. So I just feel there needs to be more advertisement for it. Volleyball, giving more prep rallies,
I think the spirit could be improved a little bit. I think it's kind of cool to see the students walking around with the CSUN gear, the sweatshirts, stuff like that. I think it can be improved though. I think we can bring it up.
The UCLA men's soccer home opener brought in more than 1,500 people. At CSUN's home opener, there were only 300. The Matadors have already defeated the Bruins this season and are on the verge of cracking the top 25 in the nation. Despite its defeat, UCLA has steadily brought in almost double the attendance of CSUN's men's soccer. It's happening on the women's side too. CSUN's women's soccer faced off against number 24 Texas Tech in front of a crowd of just a few hundred. Meanwhile in Westwood, the UCLA women's soccer team played its home opener in front of more than 1,000. You might think it's because of UCLA's higher population. Well, UCLA has only a few thousand more students than CSUN, so you'd expect the turnouts to be almost identical. But on a game-to-game basis, UCLA almost triples the number of fans in the stands. CSUN men's soccer has defeated two ranked teams back-to-back, but there were no celebrations, no pep rallies, no huge crowds to congratulate them. Sports are important to students, who are either talking about the Dodgers or the Lakers, or, these days, about Colin Kaepernick or Serena Williams. But one thing they're not talking about is CSUN sports or CSUN athletes. Students say they find it difficult to learn about upcoming games and see only few advertisements around campus about what games are going on. But for our student athletes, this is their biggest stage to voice their opinions as individuals and to learn to perform and act as professionals before getting to an even bigger stage. Now to On Point's Ethan Hanson with more on CSUN Sports. Ethan?
Thanks, Esteban. Thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. And now here with us today is two-time Big West Coach of the Year and the all-time winningest coach in CSUN history, women's basketball coach Jason Flowers. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
So let's just jump right into it. Why should students care about CSUN athletics?
I think obviously the biggest part is just because it's CSUN. I think students should be excited about anything that has its school name associated with it. We talk with our kids all the time about not only representing themselves well, but representing our university every single time that they step on the floor and compete, or anytime we're out in public together, or anytime they're out in public on their own. And so anytime you're a part of something and there's something that's going on that's affiliated with your group, I think you should take pride in it. I think the other deal is it really helps in the experience overall in a campus setting. I think obviously if you look around the country and you look at the schools that that have kind of become the household names, there's been a grassroots effort started by the students on that campus. And then obviously those students feel a certain way about their experience while they're there in school. Not only does it help the athletic teams, but again, it just helps the overall feel on campus. It helps the camaraderie, and then obviously those students go on and become alums, and that feeling doesn't change, and then that's how things grow. And so, I think there's a lot of advantages to students being involved and getting behind their sports teams, and those are kind of the two biggest ones, I think, in my opinion.
Now, CSUN men's basketball team won 8 games last year, and yet it seems to be a little bit harder for a women's program to draw as much of a crowd than a men's team. Why do you feel that can be a little bit of a tough scenario for your team at times?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything that's exclusive to CSUN, or it's not anything exclusive to basketball. I think that if you look across, whether it's sports, whether it's other areas or aspects of our society, if you look across society, that's the case. It's more of a struggle, in our world to get, in the sports world at least, to get people behind sports teams when it's a women's team. But as things evolve, I think what people are starting to see is that female athletes take the same approach. They prepare with the same passion. They have the same intensity. The games are a little different when it comes to basketball. Obviously, we're not, throwing alley-oops and playing the game above the rim. But the approach to winning, the competitiveness, the quality of play, it can be just as high. And so, obviously, our challenge is, I think, to be more connected with our student body. And I think, as much as we want students to come and get involved with our program and our games and those kind of things, I think we have to be willing to do the same thing and go out and get involved with things that are going on campus, and so that there's a connection. So it's, when somebody comes to one of our games, they know our players. There's a familiarity there. It's not separation. And so, we're starting to do things on campus. Like we have we're hosting a pool party at the SRC tomorrow, free food and DJ and those kind of things. And it's just a chance for our team to get out with the students and enjoy themselves and start to build that kind of feeling here on campus.
Talk about between your years as a coach. Do you feel that camaraderie since you've been here has gotten better and better as the years have gone on?
I think it definitely has improved. I think there was a time, if we're being completely honest, there was a time where you would walk around campus and you'd see the sweatshirts and T-shirts of all kind of other schools, universities, or whatever. And I think now there's been growth in that area as far as the students having pride in their university. I think that goes a long way to explaining the job that has been done on campus, not just in athletics, but in all areas. I think obviously President Harrison has done a good job of putting athletics in a situation to be the front porch, so to speak, for the university and to shed light on all the other great things that happen here. Because the reality is there are a lot of great things that go on here in all kind of areas, whether it be academic or whether it be research. There's a lot of good things going on here. But our society is a lot of times is driven by sports. And it's a situation where our department can help shed light again in a positive way. If you talk about the household names, very few people could tell you about the academics of those institutions. Alabama football has been obviously the top dog in college football for a couple years now, and very few people could tell you what the University of Alabama, from an academic standpoint, is really known for, or what they're really strong at. But because of their football team, there's a perception of the university that comes along with it. And so I think that it's a situation where it has grown. Hopefully it'll continue to grow, and again, grow so that it just adds to the perception of the great things that are going on here at this university.
Now, one of the things that people should know about this team is the fact that you have so much diversity, from, of course, Shannon Fluker, who was the Big West Player of the Year, to a player who just played in the FIBA World Cup, Mexico, for representing Mexico, to a player who came from a small town in Texas. Talk about that diversity and how that makes your team a bit more unique than maybe some other programs.
I don't know if I've really told this story to a lot of that's by design. When I first got hired here, you know, I wanted to reach out to other successful people and pick their brains. I knew that I wasn't smart enough to figure it out on my own. And one of the people that I actually reached out to was Casey Wasserman, who runs the Wasserman Group, and he was somebody who was associated was around our program when I was at UCLA, and I remembered and kind of reached out to him a long shot, didn't think he would respond, and I got a phone call one day and it was him on the other line. And one of the things, you know, I took notes from that conversation, and that was 10 years ago. And one of the things that he said was that diversity was a really good thing. And at the time I didn't, you know, it's one of those things that you hear but you don't completely understand until you're in it. And then as the years have gone on, I've seen how much our team has grown because of the ability to learn from each other, different cultures, different backgrounds, different beliefs. Now, it does make it more difficult at times because of those dynamics, but in the long run, our kids are exposed to so many things, and it's not the same. You know, it's not the same voice. It's you know, it's not this Stepford Wives where, you know, they're just programmed, you know, one way. They're all programmed different ways, and so we have inner city kids, we have country kids, we have foreign kids, we have, you know, we have everything on our team, and I think it's a great opportunity in an institution of higher learning for them to really be educated outside of the classroom.
Now, Coach, talking about the success of the team, because you did win the Big West title last year, you did go to the NCAA tournament and face eventual champion Notre Dame, but you have a lot of great pieces coming back, starting with Fluker. Talk about her, but then also talk about how you just found out, I think a couple of weeks ago, that you'd be getting back your starting point guard, Serafina Maulupe, who was granted another year of eligibility. So talk about both of those players and their uniqueness to the team.
Well, I think the one thing that hopefully our group figured out over the last week of last season is that it takes an entire team in order to be successful. It's not going to be one person. It's not going to be Shannon by herself. It's not going to be Serafina by herself. It's not going to be Claudia by herself. But them taking the best of themselves and putting it with the best of everybody else makes us the best team possible. And so, you know, for us, it's always good to have good players because regardless of what you know as a coach, if your players aren't good, then you're not going to be very good. And so, you know, our success has been because of our student athletes and the effort and the time that they put into their craft. And but we're excited about this group. We're excited about what the potential of this season could be. You know, obviously you talked about Shannon and Serafina and Claudia. Those are the three seniors. But you know, our young guards got a lot of experience last year playing as freshmen and sophomores, and you know, we have a kid who Dejanay, who was out last year because she transferred and she sat out last year, and now she's eligible to play. And you know, there are a lot of good pieces on this team. There's a lot of good players, and so we're excited about the season. We're excited to get students out, faculty out, and kind of push this thing forward and take it to a completely different level.
And now, Coach, I just wanted to again touch on Fluker because I've been covering this team for a couple of years now, and it seems like every single season she adds an element to her game that just makes her better and better and better. What have you seen from her so far coming back from break, and what element did she add to her game this year?
Well, I'm not going to tell you that because then, you know, I'd be giving up all our secrets.
Cat's out of the bag.
Exactly. We can't do that. But what I will say is that, you know, the element that she needs to add and bring to the table every practice and every game is the ability to make her teammates better. So it's one thing as an athlete to climb to a level to where you're really good, I think the best athletes get to that level and then keep going and make everybody else around them better. And that's her challenge. You know, like I said, it's not a one-person team. It won't be a situation where we expect her to carry us or do anything that she can't do. You know, we kind of expect the same from all of our players, and that's do their job, whatever their job is, to the best of their abilities. And so, you know, again, Shannon has done some things over her career here. We look forward to her doing more. But the biggest deal will be, you know, just like any other player on our team, how she can make her teammates better.
Now, we just recently spoke to new athletic director Michael Izzy, who is just a few months into his job, but we got to interview him. Let's take a listen.
We don't need to focus on what's happening at USC or UCLA, but we need to focus inwardly on who we are, where we can best create opportunities to be significant within our conference, as well as owning the area that we live in, and that's the Valley.
Coach, what has been your first impression of Izzy so far?
It's been great. You know, he's come in. He definitely has a plan, and obviously, you know, any leader, if you don't have a plan, it's not going to work out really well. And if you do have a plan and then you're able to communicate it to everybody else and then motivate them to achieve it, then, you know, that's when good things happen. And I think he's well on his way to do that. He's brought a different approach, a different energy. And like I said, he has a clear plan of what he wants it to be, what he wants it to look like, what he wants it to do. And, you know, I think obviously with his history, given time, I think we'll get those things done.
What are some of the things that he's maybe shared with you that that you could maybe let us in about, or some of the ideas or some of the things that maybe you're excited about moving forward? Again, man, you keep trying to give me to give away the Mama's secret recipe, and I'm not going to do it. It's okay.
You know, he kind of touched on it in the interview, focusing on us being the best version of CSUN possible, focusing on the Valley, because we are the Valley school, and like you said, you talked earlier about the pride on campus, but also that pride, you know, bleeding out into the community, and this community really getting behind the athletics department here at CSUN and being able to take it to new heights. Talking about the importance of sports within our university, now let's talk about the importance of sports within our culture. Nike recently signed former 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick to an endorsement deal, and we asked students around campus on their thoughts about Kaepernick and protesting at games.
I think that it's fine that they're protesting. I think they're standing up for what they believe in, so I think that's important that they should do that.
Even though they're risking their entire career and getting signed by an NFL team in Kaepernick's situation, he's standing up for something he believes.
You know, we've had plenty of other athletes that have took their own personal opinion to a stand against whatever federation they've been part of.
I do feel like they're disrespecting the flag.
I'm against it because there's another time and place they could do it. They could do it on social media. They can do it in interviews. They don't have to do it during the national anthem when you're actually supposed to honor the country and stand for what the country's fighting for and everything.
I believe that it is not the right way to go about protesting what they do not like about the country, and that it insults everything that is great about the country.
Now, Coach, you've been on this show before. What do you think has changed in the last 2 years between what happened to Colin Kaepernick 2 years ago and what's been happening now with him being signed to a big brand like Nike?
The fact that you brought up, I was part of a conversation on here about 2 years ago about this topic, and 2 years later we're still discussing the topic, is exactly why, regardless if you agree with it or don't agree with it, regardless of your stance on it, it's exactly why the protest was done and when the protest was done as far as the national anthem. Obviously, I think it was a young man said it could be done at a different time in a different way, and he's absolutely correct. It could be. I don't know if it has the same impact if it's done differently. I think other athletes have tried the different methods, and again, regardless of what side of the fence you're on, if you're protesting something, you want it to be discussed. The one thing that has happened is that it hasn't been able to be swept under the rug. Another reason that it hasn't been able to be swept under the rug is because there are stories that come out almost weekly that deal with the reason why people are protesting in the first place. I think regardless of how you feel about it, the fact that we're still discussing it 2 years later says a lot about the protest and what it's accomplished up to this point.
Another big story in sports this year is Serena Williams. The idea that there might be sexism in tennis. We asked students. Let's listen.
People were saying that she was complaining or trying to use feminism and sexism to kind of, I guess, make her behavior okay, which some people didn't agree with. Others stood right with her and said that, she is standing up for women and women's rights. So it was a big controversy.
There's a video out after Serena was criticized for cheating and stuff and what she said to the umpire. There's men breaking tennis rackets, cussing at the umpire, saying oh, this is your last game, blah, blah, blah. So, we're all entitled to our opinion. I feel we should be valued with that opinion, still be able to carry out our contracts if you're a professional athlete.
Coach, being a mentor to young women out there, what did you discuss with your team after the incident Serena had at the U.S. Open?
We didn't discuss it. I don't think, much like the Kaepernick situation or anything else, if it's going to be something that we try to educate our young women about, it's going to be an ongoing dialogue, and it's not necessarily going to be sparked by Serena Williams' situation or anything else or a one-time deal. For us, I tell our young women when we recruit them that I want them to believe that they can take on the world by the time they leave here, and then I hope that they're wise enough to realize that they can't do it on their own. And so, empowering young women to be leaders, to speak up against things that they don't think are right, to have the courage to face adversity head on. I think it's exactly what college athletics should be about, especially, like I said, when you're dealing with young women, like it is in my case. And again, you can have your opinion on this, but there's footage and there's facts that back up her point about the way that the situation was handled. If I had talked to our team, I would have said, maybe in that situation it got to a point where she was so frustrated that it possibly could have affected her performance during that time, which we try to avoid. But at the same time, what she said afterwards, there's legitimacy to it. I think the thing that gets swept under the rug through all of this is in between that. So in between the event, and then between the event and the post-game press conference, she did as well of a job probably as anybody could have under the circumstances of trying to make sure that the young woman that had just beat her had the experience that she should have in that situation, and she kind of put herself to the back, which I thought showed as much class as anything. So, I think, again, it kind of depends on what side you're on and what you try to come out of it with as far as the discussion.
Last question. What changes would you like to see in CSUN athletics, Coach?
Obviously, we're moving in the right direction, and I think there are some good things going on. Whether obviously you've mentioned the success of our program, but we're not the only program on campus. Men's soccer just beat UCLA the other day, which makes it, I think, the third-ranked team maybe this year that they've beaten, and they're in the top 25. And our women's soccer team played in the championship game last year, and they're off to another good start. And we have our interim track coach is the coach for two hurdlists who just won basically the championship in track this past year professionally, there are a lot of good things going on in our department. So I don't know if there's changes. I just would like to see continued growth and going in the right direction and continuing to, like I said, shed light on the things that are going on in this university, whether it be, again, academic research stuff to beautifully ran productions by students on campus that a lot of places don't have. And so hopefully we'll just continue to grow and get better. And when people think of CSUN, they think of excellence and a high level of performance.
Thank you for joining us, Coach Flowers. And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for watching.
I don't feel so well.
Okay, sweetie, you wouldn't give yourself or your loved one poison, would you? Then why would you take or give counterfeit medications that may contain the wrong or no active ingredient? Counterfeit medications are out there. They can be ineffective and harmful to your health. Baby, be a smart consumer and know your pharmacy, especially if you're purchasing medication online.
I came to CSUN to learn. I came to CSUN to grow. I came to CSUN to prepare. I learned to ask, to analyze, to communicate. I grew as a writer, a thinker, a citizen. I left CSUN prepared to participate, prepared to contribute, prepared to lead.
Aloha, I'm Linda Lingle, and I'm a matador.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Thank you for watching On Point. You can follow us on social media at CSUN On Point. You can hear us on KCSN 88.5 FM on Sunday mornings at 5:30. You can watch us on Santa Clarita Valley Television on Sundays at 5 and on LA 36 at 9:30 Thursday nights. For all of us here at On Point, I'm Esteban Reynoso.